If you think real estate's risky, wait till you get the bill for not investing. You will lose money in real estate, but you'll lose a lot more if you don't invest. Real estate allowed me to retire from medicine at the age of 40 with an 8-figure net worth, despite having a negative net worth at age 33. When you do real estate, it gives you options. Some doctors, healthcare practitioners, dentists, they love the practice of medicine. The problem is they have handcuffs and they can't practice the way they want. They don't have the freedom, the lifestyle, the hours, or the income they need. And so real estate provides that. Other people want to pivot. They want to go into a second or third career and do some things outside of medicine. So I'm actually a little bit in both boats. I was able to have a 7-figure exit, and it allowed me then to practice medicine on my own terms, where I was able to start my own functional medicine clinic. What I'm suggesting is have options. Optionality comes from freedom, which comes from wealth, which comes a lot of times from real estate. So a lot of people say, hey, why do I need to invest, right? Hey, I'm fine. I'm having a high income. The thing is, physicians are set up to really catapult themselves into another league of success. The reason why I say that is because high income by itself is not going to protect you, and it's not going to accelerate your retirement trajectory. And I'll give you a story. Like, one of my first exits in real estate was we had a 118 unit property. We bought the 62 unit next door. All in, we put in $8 million to do all the renovations and our investors to do the project. We sold it for $13 million. That was $5 million of profit that really allowed us and our investors and me and my business partners to really have much more options. That's when I decided to do my own clinic. That's when I decided to explore other businesses, and it allowed me to build and create a team. A lot of times real estate seems like a get-rich-quick scheme, but it takes a lot of time and energy. Now, there's ways to shortcut that. Mentors, colleagues, experience, following a proven blueprint would be crucial. Now, I did have some of that, but I didn't have all of it. And so it started from exploring real estate in 2012 to finally landing my first big deal in 2016, really. I exited finally in 2017. So it was literally 5 years after first exploring real estate that I finally had a really big outcome. And so I could have quit in year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. It's about staying the course. It's about realizing a longer time horizon. And it's about playing bigger games. Most doctors like to play 4-figure games and 5-figure games. What I've learned is, as a cardiologist, I needed to play a bigger game, 6- and 7-figure games, to achieve my goals and outcomes. I felt multifamily and syndications was more of that higher level game. And so that's why I evolved from just doing single family homes. And then now I know a lot of doctors do short-term rentals, and that's great. It's good transactional income. But to really replace your medical income and achieve higher results, you need to do deals at scale. So that this deal was given up by another group. We were told to get it. It was actually sort of scary because there was actually a murder on the property, and we were questioning whether we should even do the deal. We were the backup offer. Me and my partner looked at each other. We had sort of a butt clenching moment. We're like, all right, let's think if we should do this or not. And we did a little bit of research, found out this was a rare occurrence. This was not common for the property. And we ended up pulling the trigger. And it was a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, a lot of time. And, you can say on the surface some risk, but I would say staying the same and not changing and sticking with my $225,000 salary as a cardiologist, that was even more risky than doing a deal like this. So many people say, hey, how do you always lose money in real estate? Well, you can lose money in real estate in multiple ways. One, by not investing, you lose by default, right? You lose because you don't take advantage of the tax optimizations, your money is being eaten up by inflation, and you're losing passive income streams, as well as the appreciation of the market. Next, you can lose because you get into the game of real estate, but you don't know what you're doing. Inexperience, lack of knowledge, lack of skills, lack of mentorship. You can make a $10,000 mistake, you can make a $100,000 mistake, you can make $1 million mistake. That's important to know. And then finally, if you just do one deal and don't do multiple deals, then you're just a one-hit wonder. And I've seen so many physicians just get so excited, pumped up. They do the one deal and they're like, oh my God, this is so much work, and they never do it again. They don't realize it gets easier deal after deal. They don't realize that they can create systems and processes and teams to scale. And then finally, it doesn't matter how good you are, you will always make mistakes. The goal is not to make the same mistake twice. And if you do make a mistake, learn from it and take advantage of it on the next run so it can actually yield profits. So I've made $10,000 mistakes, $100,000 mistakes, $1 million mistakes. And recently we made a $10 million mistake where there's a deal we owned. Within 12 months, the market just took off and it was like going like gangbuster. We're like, oh my God, this is amazing. But we're like, we just bought it 12 months ago. Why would we just sell it right now, even though there's a good amount of profit? And we thought maybe we'll hold on and maybe sell in 18 months or 24 months, or maybe the next market cycle. But the question is, you never know when the next market cycle comes and goes. And so the lesson I learned is sell when there's a significant amount of profit and you've hit your goals, even if it's shorter than time frame than you would have expected. These are all the lessons I've learned throughout my years of ownership in real estate. All right, I gave you sort of high-level overview of my thoughts on real estate and why this is one of the most powerful wealth creation vehicles on the planet for physicians. So now I'm going to go into a little bit of detail and really break down a real estate example of how a physician going from no knowledge of real estate to getting into deals to eventually closing a very powerful deal and changing their life trajectory. This is how a physician goes from linear growth to exponential growth. So let's get into it. One of the key things I think real estate provides is multiple asset classes. And you can have, hotels, mobile home parks, self-storage. There's so many different flavors of real estate. The tried and true in real estate is usually office, retail, multifamily, industrial. Those are the big ones. And of those, it used to be office that was the king, and now it's become multifamily. The reason is it's a needs-based asset. This is not a luxury asset. Everyone will always need a place to live. Rents can go up, rents can go down, but no one's going to say, hey, there's going to be a surplus of homes. Usually there's going to be a shortage. So that being said, I personally recommend multifamily real estate. And I think there's a secret asset class most people don't talk about. People talk about either small duals, duplexes, quads, eightplexes. I think those are cute. And then there's also these huge deals that institutions do, like Blackstone, KKR, but then you also hear like these syndicators doing 100, 200, 300 unit deals. There's a middle ground that very few people delve into that I think is an opportunity for physicians, and that's being a general partner in a 20 to 40 unit purchase. I'm going to walk you through some examples. And so before we do that, there's some assumptions. So typically, depending on where in the country, prices range from $80K a door to $250K a door, right? But we're going to use $100K a door, $100,000 a unit. And typically the revenue you can get from one of those is $100 per door per month. Usually you need to bring between 20 to 30% down payment on these deals. But in this case, we're going to use just 25% down payment as just the average number. And I can show you how to do these deals with either $0 of your own money or up to $100,000 of your own money. So for most physicians, they can swing that. They can swing $100,000 to invest in one of their own deals. If you do this twice a year, the results are going to be amazing for you. But let me walk you through the example now. This is a 40 unit example. And so remember $100,000 a door. So it's a $4 million purchase price. That's 40 times 100,000. And you need 25% down payment. So that's $1 million there. To renovate it, right, we want to do something called value add. And value add means taking a project or property and improving upon it. And when you do that, you can increase rents, and that increases the value of the property because NOI drives up property value, net operating income. Typically, this is based on my own experience of running over 6,000 doors, $8,000 a unit for renovation costs. So for the 40 unit times 8, that's $320,000. Let's say you get 15 to 20 other doctors who are going to partner with you on this deal, or friends or colleagues or family members. They can each put between $50 to $100,000 down, and you raise now $1.22 million for the down payment, and you add another $100K of your own money. So that ends up being about $1.32 million of the down payment plus the renovation budget. So where are you going to get these contacts or these friends? I know that's the question. A lot of doctors, they get so caught up in the how that sometimes they don't move forward. And it's called the tyranny of the how. And so we'll always figure out the how. That's being resourceful, right? So you can use contacts in your phone. If you're part of a coaching program or community like us at Limitless MD, there's so many doctors and partnerships that are available there. Specialty physician lending programs that lend only to doctors. Getting all the equity in, now you're ready to go. So your revenue during the hold period is about $4,000 a month, which is considered financial stability. And I'll tell you how we got there. It's industry standard to have an acquisition fee, which is 3% of the purchase price. In this case, the purchase price is $4 million. 3% of that comes out to $120,000. Next is the asset management fee. Usually it's 1% of the equity managed. And in this case, it was about $1.32 million. 1% of that comes out to close to about $15,000 a year times 4 years. you get $60,000. So the 60 plus the 120 is 180. If you divide it over the hold period, it comes out to about $4,000 a month from one property. And remember, I've in previous lectures and YouTube videos, I've talked about the definition of financial stability. For me, financial stability is really being able to replace all your basic needs and necessities, your rent, your car payments, things like that, and your healthcare and stuff like that. For most doctors, that comes out to about $50,000 per year. And so if you can replace that with something like this, that's very powerful. If you hold this for typically 3 to 5 years, and we're averaging here about 4-year hold period, you can improve the property over time. With rents are going to go up naturally about 2 to 3%. That's inflation, by the way. And then we've done what we call a value add strategy, where we've put $8,000 a unit to improve the property to raise rents. And so we're assuming a very conservative $150 a door over the 4 years on increasing rents. So between those two things, the property now is worth $6 million. Again, we increased rent, we took advantage of the inflation and appreciation, and now that's driven the net operating income up. So on exit, pay back the investors $2.44 million. Remember, they put in 1.22, so you're doubling their money. You're paying back the bank $3 million. Remember, this is all coming from the $6 million sales price. So pay back the bank $3 million, pay back the investors $2.44 million. That leaves you with $560,000 of profit. Then you're going to get in addition, a 1% transaction fee, because putting a property for sale requires a lot of work on the general partnership's part. And so that's the $60,000 fee. So you take the $60,000 plus the $560. Now you have $620,000. And then remember from the previous slide, we talked about the acquisition and the asset management fee. That was $180,000. So the $180 plus the $620, now you have $800,000 of total income you've achieved over the 4 years on this 40-unit deal. That's pretty impressive. And remember, you only put in $100,000 of your own money. So if you do 2 of these a year, if you analyze $800,000 over the 4-year period, that comes out to $200,000 each per year. And if you do 2 of these a year, that's $400,000 of income. And remember our definition for financial independence, essentially replacing your physician income. So assuming the average doctor in the country makes $400,000, we've shown you a legitimate way using real estate, using multifamily, and using leverage to now achieve and replace your medical income. And if you want to take this one step further, you can eventually get the next deal all by yourself without investors needed and take home $3 million in a 4-year cycle. And the annualized return of that is $600,000 post-tax, which is true financial freedom, meaning you can live your dream lifestyle, right? $1 million pre-tax, $600,000 post-tax. So this is the power of real estate. This is the power of compounding. This is the power of teams and specialized knowledge. And this is why physicians can truly be high income and high net worth.